Hi, my name is Jeff Hewitt, General Manager here at Cullen Motors, and today we are talking about Silverado 3500 HD Trail Boss. So if you're in the market for a new or used vehicle, make sure you come down to Cullen Motors at 386 Ontario Street in St. Catharines, and don't forget to click on the link below for your YouTube incentive. Okay, so here we have the 2025 Silverado 3500 single rear axle, heavy duty Trail Boss. Now we've equipped this unit with the 6.6 liter turbo diesel, of course, mated to the Allison 10-speed transmission, putting all 975 pound-feet of torque to the road. Now, why did I talk about torque? Once again, torque is what gets things moving, and it does all of that at 1600 RPM. So right down at the bottom of the RPM range, you get all that load to get that load moving. If you have more questions about torque and horsepower, don't forget to look at my max tow video on the light duty 1500s, where we talk about the rule of 52-52. But for now, we're going to talk about this Trail Boss. First thing you're going to notice right up front here on the Trail Boss package is that this is an LTZ with painted black bumpers. Usually the LTZ comes standard with chrome, but being a Trail Boss package, they put the gloss painted bumpers on it. You've got the painted black grill bar, black bow ties, tone-on-tone black Z71 badges. Everything is black on this because it is a Trail Boss. Under the hood here, what we did is we also equip it with the dual alternator setup, the 220 amp primary alternator and the 170 amp secondary alternator. Why do we have those? Well, because you're probably towing a big trailer and running a bunch of accessories. We don't want you running out of juice. This makes sure that you get taken care of as you're rolling down the road. We get red tow hooks. That is also part of the package. That isn't available anywhere else. That's the only way you get them. Let's get around the side and take a look at what else is included. So when you order the Trail Boss package, automatically you get these amazing black gloss 20-inch wheels. And look at the aggressive off-road tires. And you're gonna say, hey, wait a minute, you can't tow with those. Well, we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. The BF Goodrich off-road tires included, the big 20-inch wheels, and the tone-on-tone black badging, all included as part of that package. We've equipped it obviously with the off-road step. You get the black mirrors. So this is the full blacked out tone-on-tone, mean looking truck, or as we like to call it, a BFT. So make sure that when you're looking for a Trail Boss, this is what you're getting. Come around the back and let me show you what happens when you tow with this. So before we get to the tailgate, I want you to pay attention to the rear suspension setup in this. This is a 3500 single rear axle truck, and we're gonna have a little debate here a little later on about singles and dualies and all that sort of stuff. But if we look really close in here, you're gonna see that there's multiple leafs. And what makes this different from a 2500 than a 3500 is back here in the rear suspension. Now you can get a 2500 single rear wheel, 3500 single rear wheel. They are a little bit different. We're gonna show you why we choose this truck over the 2500, but you'll notice that there's all these different leaves, and right now, the bottom leaf and the top two leaves, they're not doing anything. They only come into contact and support the truck when you get the load on it. And this is how you get the ride quality in something like this, because you know what, when you're buying a truck like this, you're probably driving it every day. So we want it to ride nice, even though it is a 3500. The other really great feature I love about this is integrated in. This is the side step. It's really important if you're fifth wheel towing. I'll show you when we get to the other side, but if you want to get something out of the box, remember, I am 6 foot tall. This is not easy to reach into. I can't reach the bottom of the box, right? So if you're gonna have to get up there and get into something, here's a step for you to do it. Built right into the truck, comes standard, makes it easy. Come around the back. So once again, in the back here, we've equipped this truck with the multi-flex tailgate. I find this really, really handy, especially when you're hooking up your fifth wheel. So you've got two switches. The lower switch opens the whole tailgate. The secondary switch opens the second part to get that sort of multi-flex action happening. So it can open up like this. This turns into a step if you choose to use it. You do have the support bar here, right, to help us old guys get up into the bed of the truck if we need to. But when we get up in here, this is where I think General Motors does some things really, really well. Let's take a look at this bed. So in the bed of the truck here, we've got these, you can see these knockout plugs here. And what they're for is for whatever style of hitch that you're hooking up here for, be it a gooseneck or a fifth wheel hitch. And it's really simple to use because these attach directly to the frame. So if you're doing just a gooseneck ball or a fifth wheel that only mounts on the gooseneck ball, you just remove this center cover here, the ball drops in there, and you're off to the races. And everything is already in the truck, ready to go. So you're not cutting and splicing and dicing to hook up your fifth wheel. It's all there and engineered for it. Now here's where GM got really smart. When they redesigned this truck, they actually took this and moved it a little rearward. If you think back, the standard was if you're mounting a fifth wheel hitch in the back of a truck, it needed to be 2 inches ahead of the rear axle. That's a really great idea if you've got an 8-foot box. Nowadays though, with the 6'6" boxes, it gets a little tight when it comes to clearance with your trailer in the cab of the truck. I've seen more than one person have a problem with that when they get the clearances just a little too tight. And so what the engineers at General Motors did is they found a way to mount this a little further back in the box. And by doing so, they've done a few things. First of all, they moved it back in the box, and they've done it so that your standard pin box on, say, your fifth wheel house trailer won't contact the tailgate and it won't contact the sides of the rails. But also by moving it back, they've allowed more swing room here for the nose cone of your trailer to miss the cab of the truck. So I've had the privilege of using one of these trucks to tow my fifth wheel for years. And even though I've got a slider option and I can get myself some extra room if I need it, I've never had to use it because the turning angles that you can achieve, depending on the shape of your trailer, right, are really quite incredible because of this setup. Well done, General Motors. So as we come around the side here, we have to keep in mind this is a Z71 off-road package. And so when you get a Z71 truck, it comes with a few things. It comes with hill descent control. So you're off-road, you're heading down one of the steep hills, you hit the hill descent control, and it actually helps you control the vehicle going down the hill, stop it from running away, because this thing weighs over 8,000 pounds. It doesn't take long for it to build some momentum. Another cool feature is you get the off-road skid plates, and what they've done is they've put armor underneath the vehicle to protect the key features. They're going to protect your DEF tank, they're going to protect your gas tank, they're going to protect your transfer case. And so they're making sure that if you're off-road, you're maybe climbing over some rocks and you come down on something, it's going to come down on a skid plate and not something crucial that's going to prevent you from getting home. So really thoughtful, Z71, and now I know what you're thinking. You're saying, Jeff, this is a really pretty truck and it's got the big aggressive tires on it, but can it tow? Well, yes it can, and I'm going to tell you why and why this is important. So let's take a look at the towing sticker and we'll see what it says. So here we're looking at the trailering information decal that's on this specific truck. And remember, every decal on a General Motors truck is specific to that vehicle. So you notice that the VIN is listed there along the top. You can see this one starts with a 2, right? So that means it was built in Canada. We have a GVWR. So what that stands for is gross vehicle weight rating. So the vehicle on its own is allowed to weigh 12,100 pounds. Now remember, that's what the vehicle's allowed to weigh legally. How you've licensed the vehicle. When you license heavy duty vehicles, you specify the weight with the Ministry of Transportation, but that's what, from an engineering point of view, that's what the vehicle's allowed to weigh. Then we have the GCWR, that's gross combined weight rating. That's what your truck and whatever it is that you're towing is allowed to weigh combined. And you see there, that's allowed to be 30,000 pounds. Next number is kind of interesting and often ignored is the rear gross axle weight rating, RGAWR. And that's allowed to be 7,250 pounds. And the reason why they specify that is that if you ever get pulled over by the ministry, they bring it to the scales, they actually measure the front axle weight and the rear axle weight separately. Curb weight, well, that's how much this baby weighs. Right out of the factory with its fluids, ready to go and drive. It weighs 8,403 pounds. That does not include you. So that's what the truck weighs. Max payload, and this is where, we'll talk about this in a minute, this is where the 3,500 really sits in. So max payload of 3,697 pounds, that's how much weight you're allowed to add to the truck. And really what that is, if you take the 8403 curb weight, you add the 3697, that adds up to 12,100 pounds that you see at the top there. So that's how that math works. So then we get into towing. So conventional off the rear hitch, you're allowed to tow 20,000 pounds, right, with a maximum tongue weight of 2,000 pounds. And if you're gooseneck or fifth wheel towing, you're allowed 21,600 pounds, or max tongue weight, or what I like to call pin weight of your fifth wheel hitch, as to be 30,240 pounds. Remember that 3,240 pounds also includes the weight of your hitch. Okay, so now here's the public service announcement. Here in Ontario, you're with a G license, the maximum that you are allowed to tow, combined truck and trailer, is 24,500 pounds, okay? Anything beyond that, you need either an A license or a D license. So you need to upgrade your G license to tow more than that. So let's think about this for a second. Now, I know there's people watching this, and feel free to comment below. And actually, I'm gonna ask you a favor in a minute here, but feel free to comment below, because you're gonna say, this isn't a real 3500 because it's not a dually, right? And yeah, dually, we make dualies that can tow about 30,000 pounds. But the problem is that nobody gets to utilize that with a G license. So if you've got a G license and you want to, say, tow an RV trailer, right? You're limited legally in Ontario to 24,500 pounds. Now, they're not pulling a lot of fifth wheels over on the highway unless you have a problem. So don't forget that if you have a problem, an accident, something goes bad, and they weigh you and you're overweight, well, then it's a problem. So I want you to stop and think about this for a second. This can tow 21,000 pounds. The truck weighs 8,300 pounds, and you're allowed to be 24,500 pounds. So what does all that mean? If you do the math, realistically, if you're buying a fifth wheel trailer that you want to tow with this truck, you're gonna max out at about 16,000 pounds, right? And that's gonna include your gear, whatever people you're putting in the truck. That's your limitation. So this is where this truck fits in, because for the average family that's gonna tow a fifth wheel trailer, right? This has got you covered. When you consider that 16,000 pounds is about where you're gonna max out, there's no need for the dually. And let's be honest about it, dualies are great. I love towing with a dually pickup truck. There's nothing like it. But as a daily driver, they're not the easiest thing to park. First of all, the box is 8 feet long, and as my wife likes to say, they got big hips, right? And so you really can't fit them into a parking spot at Costco. This is the truck for you. There is a place for those big trucks. Couldn't agree with you more. This, however, fits right in the market. Now, if you're towing into that sort of 16,000 pound range, this will cause the truck to squat, even with its amazing suspension. So you guys that know a lot about towing, I'm looking for some recommendations out there for our viewers, right? Because we like to put in those airbags in the back to help level out the truck. General Motors does not offer it from the factory. They don't endorse it as an accessory, but they are available out there, and I know they're from the simplest to the most complicated things you can have that operate with your phone. I'd really love to hear some recommendations, because I'm interested the next time I'm putting some airbags in. So, 3,500 dualies are great. 3,500 single rear axle. So why a single rear axle over a 2,500 single rear axle? Well, the real key comes to that pin weight that I was talking about. The biggest difference between the 2,500 and the 3,500 is actually the payload. The 2,500 tows almost as much as this. I think similarly equipped, it's gonna be about 20,000 pounds. So you consider the tow ratings are very similar, but it's the pin weight. And with fifth wheel trailers, about 25% of the weight comes into the box of the truck. And you'll find that on a lot of those 2,500s, if you read that decal, you're gonna max out your pin weight before you max out your trailer towing weight. And so this is why the 3,500 matters, and this is why the weight of your hitch matters. Make sure you do your research before you buy one, okay? Let's get inside and take a look at some of the great features on the inside of this truck. So this comes with memory seats. So your memory seat package, you've got a setting number 1, number 2, and exit. So what these memory seats do is they control not only the seating position though, but also your rear view mirrors. And where this comes in handy, being the person that generally only drives the truck myself, I use both of those. And I use memory 1 for my normal everyday driving, and that keeps everything adjusted the way I want. And I use memory 2 for when I'm towing a trailer. And so that way, when I extend the mirrors out and I've put the load on the vehicle and the vehicle is squatted down a little bit, I don't have to go around and mess with the mirrors every single time. I just hit memory 2, it adjusts the mirrors. And by the way, actually when I'm towing, I like a slightly different seating position as well. So I actually adjust the seat, adjust the mirrors. Really handy to have the memory seats. Use them wisely. Okay, so here we are. This is LTZ trim, which means, you know what? You're getting premium seating surfaces here, ventilated seats, memory seats, everything you could possibly want. And this is, I've towed fifth wheel trailer with this type of truck many times. There's a whole bunch of things that I really love about it. Let me go through a bunch of it. So first of all, This truck is equipped with heads-up display, so it is putting the image up on the display and the things I want to see, mainly my speed. What I find, especially towing a trailer, there's a lot going on. You're running down the highway, you got some other people in the vehicle, turn here, turn there, your navigator in the passenger seat is probably telling you what to do. I really like being able to have that up on the screen so I can see what's going on rather than having to look down and find it here in the display. A couple of other really cool things. It does have the full surround vision package. And so what that means for parking, obviously, is that you get to see all the way around the truck, but it also has some really cool other effects. If you so decide, when you attach your trailer, you put your turn signal on, this on the left side will be this camera, on the right side will be that camera, but it shows you all the way down the length of your truck and trailer what's going on in that lane, because the camera out here in the mirror gets to see it. So you get to see it here in the display, and your passenger gets to see it in the display so they can yell at you when you've done something wrong, right? It does happen. Other really cool things about this truck, and this is sort of intuitive, smart General Motors stuff. They make the knobs large, or if you're wearing gloves, you got big hands. This is sort of a carryover from the work truck side of it, but it's actually kind of nice and intuitive to use. And being a heavy duty, of course, you've got the wonderful extending side mirrors. And so they push out further when you're actually towing a trailer. So you can extend out and you get to see down past the trailer even more. They've got some other really cool features built into them as well. They have reverse lights that are built into the mirrors. And if you've ever had to unhook and store your trailer in a dark storage yard at 1 o'clock in the morning where there's no lighting, these are a godsend, okay? So put the vehicle in reverse, the backup lights come on, and they are blinding. Don't look directly into them, please. They do shade them from the driver, but looking back, you can see all the way down the length of your trailer and really help you get that thing parked properly. Of course, sunroof equipped, digital rear view mirror, everything you could be looking for inside a family tow vehicle, this is it. It's a luxury vehicle to drive really smooth when you consider this is a 3500, properly equipped inside, command center, your usual dash, HVAC controls. All of the things that you need for towing are at your fingertips. Your brake control here, and the reason why they put this so close to you is because if in case of emergency and you start losing control, you can grab a hold of this and activate the trailer brakes independent of the vehicle brakes. So your exhaust brake is here. This being a diesel, you can use the engine to help slow you down coming down those hills out of Virginia, right? You need that exhaust brake to help control this without overheating the brakes in both your truck and trailer. So this is meant to be a tow vehicle. Also a great camper package vehicle. If you're putting a sliding camper in the back, we do put the heavy duty front springs in it for that. All around, amazing tow vehicle. Can't say enough about it. I've done so many miles in these things towing a big trailer. There's nothing better than on the road. 3500 single rear axle. It's the way to go. Let's get back and see what it's like back there. So once again, I'm sitting behind myself, but I have massive amounts of room back here. Don't forget, this can also be cargo space for you if there's just maybe one or two of you up front. But this is great room back here. We do have our outboard seats have heated seating, so our switches are right here. We do get a center pull-down armrest as well with cup holders. Tons of space, really, really comfortable back here. And a couple of other really nifty storage ideas that General Motors has done. I'm just gonna hop out of this seat here just to show you. This is my favorite place to actually put the tie downs. So in the back of the seat here, you've got this door that opens up, and I found that I can store all my tie downs, everything I need back here in behind the seats. And what's really nice about that is that they're not all over the floor, they're not rattling around somewhere, right? They're not just letting loose in the bed of the truck. So I store my tie downs in there. Great location for it. Of course, you've got under seat storage, both sides, lots of storage opportunities back here. And if you're putting something tall in, or you're bringing your 60-inch TV home, you don't want to leave it in the bed of the truck, the seat actually locks up there in the up position. You can bring your TV inside if you wanted. Really thought of everything back here. They've done a great job. Can't tell you how much fun it is to tow with this truck. So one last public service announcement. If you're going out shopping for a fifth wheel trailer, look for the 2-axle rear trailers. They're the type of trailer that's going to keep you legal with the G license that you're going to tow with this truck. As a general rule of thumb, if it's a 2-axle rear trailer, that's going to work well for you. You get into those 3 axles, especially the big 3-axle toy haulers, you're talking about 1-ton dually then, you talk about upgrading your license. make sure you do it correctly, do it safely. This is a heck of a truck. Come down and see us here at Brian Cullen Motors. We're at 386 Ontario Street in St. Catharines. Make sure you like and subscribe below. Check out our other truck towing videos, right? Really worth checking it out, and drive safely.